So, welcome everyone. I think we can start. I don't know who else will be here. So, today, as we discussed last time in the Saturday sessions, where we were exploring about love and relationships, uh, and the suggestion was that let's explore ego and how we become our own prisons and how can we release ourselves from these prisons. So, but I thought that maybe it would be nice idea to take it in a integral aspect, including words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And since ego is there, it has a proper place. So in these sessions, I don't know, two, three, four, wherever it may lead us, we will try to explore what is the need of ego, because it is there, it's not without a purpose. And also, what do we understand when we say the word ego? So it's just an exploration, and we will be taking the support of words of masters and mystics in order to lead us to greater clarity. So I would invite reflections on what is our present understanding of what do we mean by ego. When you think that, oh, I worked from my ego, what do you mean by it? Or if you say that the other person has ego or I have ego, what is it that you are seeing? So any reflections would be really most welcome.
Hi, Monica. I think the first thing that I could understand is the doership. The doership. Um, it like it's like a king size. And when we talk about ego, what we know of is when we get angry or when we get into a dispute or something, then our ego is playing the role. But I think there are many smaller aspects which in everyday life, when we keep exploring it, just we have to analyze and see where all it is. It is like everywhere, it seems, many a time. So, yeah, this is it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, would anyone else want to share what do you think about what is ego? And it could be just our present understanding. So don't bother about being right or wrong. Whatever is our present understanding of ego would be really nice.
For me, I mean, there's many things. When I first, if I start somewhere, I think it's like I'm really aware that it's ego when I'm doing something and it's for my benefit primarily, or some sense of self-preservation. So the other is saying or doing something, and I feel extremely threatened or somehow in danger, even perhaps slide into even like a childhood thing, and then just react, right? I'm not able to respond, I react. And it feels full of the vital, feels full of emotions. That's very much ego reaction. And at another level, I'd say in myself, that's like a really extreme egoic movement I would find in me. Another way is simply when I feel separate, that I even see myself as a self and the other as other. And there's not many times in life that I experientially have felt this oneness, yet the oneness that Mother Sri Aurobindo, any great teacher, speaks of, I believe in it. But just the fact that I don't have a sense experience of treating others literally as myself, or in those worst moments being able to come back to kindness and compassion quickly in the triggered moments, that lets me know that's this individualizing, and the quote that you use in the poster seems to kind of indicate that if I weren't individualizing like that, and I could see some kind of connection in the wholeness, then that would be the promise in the poster, that in that quote. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, anyone else? Any reflections on ego, our present understanding?
Yeah, so for me, right now, ego feels like this continuous noise in the mind. Earlier, it had the power to, just sway me. Now, slowly, it's losing its hold, but it's there. Continuous noise, kir, 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 it just refuses to leave. But I'm just glad that. It's losing its power, at least most of the time. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Anyone else? Any present views on ego? Yes. So, it's very interesting and mysterious also that, as Mother says, that each thing in this manifestation has a proper place. And when we take that thing out of that place and misuse it, abuse it, then our problems begin. So imagine that you have a knife, the simplest example, let us say. You have a knife and you somehow are so much attached to that knife that you use that knife everywhere. If you have to open the fridge, you use the knife. If you have to not only cut the vegetables, if you have to eat, you use the knife. So you are abusing the knife. We are using the knife at places where it is not supposed to be used. Its function was to help you cut things, or maybe dig the earth. That To that extent I can use the knife, to maybe use it instead of scissors, to cut a rope or something. You can use the knife, okay, that much extent it is allowed. But when I begin to eat with the knife, and when I begin to open doors and things, do all the, even try to write with the knife, I think that's really as if my mind is going bonkers. So what am I doing? So that's what happens with us, that as according to Mother Shri Aurobindo, and as we will explore, that it makes sense also. Ego has a proper place, and ego is this sense of, basically a sense of rigid self, which I call as me. And that is why it hurts. It's only the ego that gets hurt. And how do you know that the ego is still in function? Very simple tool. You get hurt. Because if there is nothing there and I'm knocking, 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 then nobody is going to get hurt, right? I'm knocking in the air. But when there is something solid over here, which I'm sticking to, which I'm believing I am, anybody knocks and I get hurt. So ego, one another way of just putting it, is this solid sense of me. This is who I am. How dare you hurt me? How dare you insult me? Me, me, me. This is ego. Now, we see that it has a proper place. How? And it's important to realize, because we can't talk of surrendering the ego or dissolution of the ego before we have already a well formed personality. We can't talk of that. So many a times, in our sessions also, and people just join in the middle on the spiritual path, and they talk about, they just pick up big words and they talk about, how do I surrender? I mean, we can't think of surrendering, because Mother says that, what will you surrender to me? You won't be able to see. If I ask you, you surrender your phone to me, you must know that you have a phone. So you will search your bag and you will say, oh yes, I have a phone, I surrender it to you, something like that. But if I don't even have a well formed personality, what will I offer to the divine? What will I say I am surrendering? So ego is a way of individualization, as was presented in the quote of Sri Aurobindo, that first we have to individualize ourselves. So, okay, how do I individualize myself? Society says after 24, find a good job, get married, get settled. Okay, what do I want? This is the developing of ego consciousness. Society may say this, but what do I want? At home, people are saying, eat this, eat this, eat this. Why? Because it is made. So you have to eat. I am saying that this doesn't suit my body, so I'm not going to eat this. So you are questioning the collective. Why? Because you want to nurture and you want to take care of yourself. You don't want to follow the bhed chal, the herd mentality. So you say, okay, I don't want this. Yeah, I know some people are doing this, but I don't want this. This doesn't suit me. This doesn't suit me. Maybe I want this. And slowly, through your own likings and preferences and what are your natural inclinations, through that you form an individuality. And that is what we relatively term as ego consciousness. Again, there are all these parts to it which all of you were sharing. The mental chatter is part of ego. Reactive patterns of operation, that the moment somebody says this and I go into the past, or in my inner child or something, that's again ego pattern in operation. So all the mechanical things that are in operation, which I don't question, is part of my ego consciousness. It's like they are sticking to me and I don't even know that I am being puppeted around by them. I don't have a say. That those patterns are ruling my life. I don't have a say. And those patterns are ego patterns, we say. So the master is missing from the palace. There is no king in the palace. And that is why in the beginning, it is important to develop a well-formed individuality. Okay, society may be wanting this, parents may be wanting this, but what do I want to do? What do I want to eat? What do I want to dress up like? People may want I may wear a sari, but I don't want to wear a sari. So what do I want to wear? So slowly you kind of come out. Imagine that there is a mesh, like, it's like a daldal, it's like a swampy area, right? Now you have to collect some material out of that swampy area. How would you do that? You will use a net. So that collective is that swampy place where everything is mixed up. And now I want to collect myself. I want to ask myself, who am I? Because this doesn't suit me, that doesn't suit me, but yes, this suits me. I want to follow this. So initially, it is very important for us to develop an individuality which is like separating myself, almost, you can say. I think somebody was using this word, like dividing myself from rest of the creation. And why it is necessary, let us see. It is necessary because it is also a basic survival mechanism in the beginning. Because if I don't know that I am this body, this mind and this feelings, how would I nurture it? How would I take care of it? So if there is a car coming from front, and I don't even know that I am this body, how would I save myself from that car? That car will hit me, I'm gone. So it is a very basic survival necessity in the beginning, that if I am born as an individual, as a person, as a human being, I must know that, okay, this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am, and this is what I have to nurture. Like I have a toothbrush, and since this belongs to me, I have to keep it clean. I have to take care when the bristles are, going away. I have to maybe get a new one. So this is how we take care of our self, our so-called our self, our belongings. So we see that ego is also a basic necessity, survival necessity in the beginning. Hmm? Like a protection mechanism, a shell that we are creating ourselves, around ourselves, so that we remain protected from all the mass of things going around us. You know? So any reflections till this point? Any doubts? Any reflections? Yeah. Yes, Swapna.
What I'm just noticing in this moment in myself of this, noticing how much, whether it's in myself or a combination of in myself and perhaps kind of current modern spiritual discussion, even in whatever I'm involved with Mother and Sri Aurobindo, where ego, really gets this bad rap, right? So how much of my attention has gone on grappling with and sorting out this kind of negative ego, if for want of a better word, the one that reacts, the one that feels it like it has a prickly edges, if someone comes close. And so how little attention has actually gone to this positive individualizing or nurturing the I that, yeah, like you said, first I need to know what this I is before I can surrender it. But just that, just noticing, I just haven't been able to come to ego from a kind place or from a wide place, towards myself, and that would mean then to others, right? Like this habituated lens to look at it as, how is the other being small and attacking me, and how am I then, can I find what is my part in that dynamic? And then it just stops there, right? The exploration rarely seems to go much further in a natural flow. Yeah. Just noticing that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. So I think even in other teachings also they talk about developing a healthy sense of self. And that's where what you were pointing at, that it's not bad to have a sense of self. Have a sense of self, but a healthy, free, loving sense of self. That the alignment that we were taking, that noticing, as mother says, what are my likings, what are my preferences, where do I want to give myself effortlessly to, what brings me joy. So in a healthy way, not in an addictive way, in a healthy way, nurturing the garden of your being. That is like cultivating a healthy sense of self. Since we know that sense of self is there by product of us being human beings, having a separate body, so let us have a healthy sense of self. And I totally resonate with you when you share that if I can't have a healthy sense of self towards my own self, I won't be able to treat others with honor, respect, and freedom. I won't be able to do that. No, not possible. And that's why others are a mirror. That if I'm myself able to treat myself, with honor, respect, freedom, dignity, space, it is impossible that I would mistreat others. And that is one of the reasons why we mistreat others, because we don't have a healthy sense of self. So all the time that we spend here and there and here and there, we do, really so much energy gets drained. Why not to uh, spend that energy, the same energy, in developing this individual that has been granted to us? Like really making it so beautiful, nurturing the talents, nurturing the abilities. That's developing healthy sense of self. Then later on we can talk of surrendering of the ego, but not before that. Because then mother would ask, what are you giving me? Because I can't see anything here. It's a sloppy mass of jelly. What are you offering me? Offer something really good. Or not even good, at least well formed. Having a bit of boundaries so that I can say, okay, mother, this all is me and this is what I offer to you. But when I don't even know what all is me, then what do I offer? How can I talk of surrender? This is the question. So that's why, with Mother's Yoga, we have become conscious of your thoughts. It's developing actually a healthy sense of self because you are purifying yourself. So you're looking at your thoughts as if a guard is back in the being and it's checking inside the palace. Oh my God, so much of garbage. Let me clean it. So you are preparing this temple so that you can offer this temple to some higher work. But without coming back to the temple, without taking responsibility of the temple, we can't even talk about dissolution of the ego, or the other thing is ego bashing that you were sharing. You know, how can we do that? So we can also, I think this is a beautiful way of taking it forward, that if one has to cultivate a sense of self, which anyway we are all doing, why not cultivate a healthy sense of self? Since we have to individualize ourselves, that will happen, is happening. So that's our challenge. That's our challenge, and it's a time taking process. Mother says that it's not easy to find out what are my strengths, what are my abilities, what do I want to do with my life, where do I want to give my time to, the 24 hours or the 12 hours in the day. It's not an easy task to find out, but if you are at it, and if you really honor yourself to even a bit of pinch of a degree, that no, I value my life and I want to make something good out of it, so no matter how painstaking the process is, let me invest myself into it because this is worth it. Then slowly we begin to find out things about ourselves, and then also we see we are able to reject those things, because neti neti also comes here, that now we will be able to actually, because since we are now forming something, it's like sculpting something. You are a sculptor and you are sculpting something. So as if you are able to see, oh, this cut not required, this cut required. So you are able to, according to your natural inclinations, what are your inherent likings and dislikings, you will be able to do the rejection of many things. That, oh, this not in alignment with my nature, so let me keep it for the moment aside. This thing, yes, 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 I want to do, so let me pursue this. So like this we slowly kind of find our way, and give time to it. Yeah, any further additions, anyone?
I also see in just that last thing you said, then how for me, how yeah, it's like it seems like a small shift, but actually it's huge. This to look at myself with the lens of this is such a gift, this life, this individual, that Mother has given me this opportunity to cultivate it, to perfect it in terms of these individual likes and tendencies, so that I can serve her more. I mean, it seems such an obvious, like, well, of course. Yet I see how, say, for example, recently I've been just looking at an old uh, situation of abuse from my childhood, mental, emotional, verbal abuse. And I see how that pattern then has so predominated my identity, and how to heal that, how to make it well with myself. Yet, like, what do I replace it with? Right? Which would be what now touching in on, which is something that is so worthy and so beautiful, that is her child, that needs to be tended to, and that is worthy of, yes, what is it I really want? And what if really I would have the courage and the faith to believe she's there to support that set of preferences, and not the ways in which this other identity is used to always trying to bend or cater to others, because it still feels somehow less worthy, and that therefore the abuse occurred, and therefore this habituated pattern to somehow always feel it has to change, to stay in circumstances. But the other side of just, oh, how beautiful, just to give myself full permission to, as you've often said, I've heard you say, to be really be my very best friend. And then take the time, like I would with my physical best friend, to, yeah, what does she really need, and what do we want to do together, and how, how can I respect what she likes, and how do I take care of her, and like really do that. That's just kind of a little bit mind-blowing in a really soft, beautiful way. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I think if we look at integral yoga, we see that uh, it's like we have a whole map of what Mother and Sri Aurobindo are talking of, refinement of senses. So they are not talking that you shun the senses away and go to some other spirituality, which is beyond the world. They are talking of, if you have a mind, if you have the senses, refine it, refine them, because there is even possible in senses that a greater perfection and a greater perfection and a greater perfection can come. So their way is like really perfecting the instrument that we have got, perfecting the feelings, making them purer and purer, perfecting the how we use thought. Usually our thought is very hazy, clouded, and usually the emotional part is so mixed up with the thoughts that we are not even clarified in thoughts. Thought is also biased because of the emotions, and we don't get to know this since we don't know this machinery inside, right? So there they say that even thought has a use, and the mind has a use, mind space has a use. But when mind is cluttered, then you can't use the tool very well. So why not make the tool worthy of being used well? Then we talk about concentrating the mind, in gathering the mind. And as she shares, like as if you have scattered away all these threads everywhere around, in the past, in the future, in the present commentary. So just in gather all these threads, bring it to rest with Mother's name, or within yourself, and concentration of the mind. That's what we call it as tapasya, tap, this ingathering of all the restless energies within ourselves. So that's also, we are using the mind, we are using, our instrument, but for a nurturing sense. We are not using it in an unhealthy sense, all the places where we are entangled and engaged, and the demands. And also one thing that I wanted to add is that one hallmark of a non-healthy sense of self is a sense of lack, a perpetual sense of lack from which we live and which we want to fulfill through outer means. This is also an unhealthy sense of ego that we have. A perpetual lack, either I want to fill that lack with social media, or fill that lack with, meeting friends all the time, not being okay without friends. Something I need, something is missing. So always trying to fulfill that missing, which is a hallmark of that unhealthy sense of self, by something outer. So there we have addictions, getting addicted to shopping, getting addicted to travel. Anything can become an addiction. Spirituality can become an addiction in that sense, that you can't survive without some things. So any stickiness, when we talk about living from the sense of lack, stickiness is also another name for it. That one just wants to stick. And a sticky ego, and stickiness is the ego, is the very unhealthy sense of self that we have been talking of. And what we have to do, as mother says, that we have to move from this sticky sense of self to a non-sticky sense of self. A sense of self which is still there. Yes, I'm still a separate person, still a separate individual, but in a more nurturing way, not like in an unhealthy way. And there is also a stronger sense of interconnectedness amongst us, that oneness that you were sharing in the beginning. There is a stronger sense of that no matter we may be physically away from each other, yet we are all connected. It is impossible that we are not connected. So to have solace and contentment in that oneness, that unitedness, interconnectedness. So I think the next point is that how to get out of the prison that we are in, if we are in the prison. And as has been indicated, nothing new that I'm going to share here, is that become conscious that prison suffocates, prison limits. And if I have even an inkling of a limitation or a suffocation somewhere, I have to become conscious of that. What am I sticking to which is making me suffocated? What am I sticking to which is making me limited? Is it serving me any good purpose? It is benefiting my nurture of the being. And if it is not benefiting me, I will have to let it go. Because the only thing now I care for is nurture of my being. And if anything comes on the way, I am happy to discard it. It may be the most cherished friendship that I may have cherished for so many years, but now, it is time for me to leave it, because it has become a poison. So the only focus is here in this aspect that we are exploring, nurturing a healthy sense of self, honoring, respecting your own self, and really it's like taking care, like a gardener takes care of his garden with lots of love, care, affection. All the weeds he keeps on rejecting, there comes also a rejection. I think this would very well go with the aspects of aspiration, rejection, surrender. And they did not place surrender first. First is aspiration, that there is a want in the being to be something more than what I have been before. So this will also go in accordance with the development of a healthy sense of self: aspiration, rejection, and surrender. So I'm aspiring for a healthy sense of self. I'm aspiring for more beauty, harmony in my own being and surroundings. And for that, I will have to reject many things. It comes automatically. Like, we are aspiring for a beautiful house. Imagine, very simple material, basic stuff. If I am aspiring for a cleanliness in the house, a tidiness, basic tidiness in the house, I will have to get up, put some effort, keep those things which I use, which are beneficial, and remove all the things which are rotting and not now in use, or give away. And that's exactly what we have to do with our own being. All the patterns, all the reactive, mechanical things which are now not benefiting me and others around me, I have to let go. Why? Because I want to nurture my being. Simple. It is a palace of the divine. I have to keep it clean. So surrender now it's not even there in the picture. Forget about surrender. It's like last aspiration, rejection, surrender. Surrender comes later. First I aspire, then I reject all the garbage which is now unnecessary, which may have been useful at some point of time. There are things in our home, you will see if you look around, which may have served a purpose when we bought them or we for a few years, but now they are redundant, they are not useful. All they do is just sit there, occupy space, and you have to clean it again and again every day. So rejection of all the lower movements, rejections of the ways in which I react, and I feel then after a minute I feel, oh, why did I act that way? I feel a regret immediately. So those patterns now I have to become conscious of as they arise, and I don't have to follow their dictate. This is cleansing of the being, and developing a healthy sense of self, and not an unhealthy, lackey sense of ego. This is also still a healthy sense of ego only. This is a temporary individuality, but this is towards a true individuality. This will take me towards my true psychic individuality, what I truly am born for. So all the older patterns, that's the old reactive patterns, ego patterns that I have to leave, that now are not serving me. I become sensitive, I become conscious, and I let them go. I choose something higher. And no one can do it for me if not myself. Nobody can do it, no matter how close a person is to you, your child, your spouse, your closest friend. You can't do it for anyone, neither can anyone do it for you, unless there is a willingness, aspiration from inside that let me make beneficial use of this human birth that has been given to me.
Monica, I'm really, again, I'm with you. I have because I also have this very kind of tangible example that's going on for me in my life. And again, it's one of those times of like, yes, intellectually I get it, like to give up a lower movement, to reject it, it's not my true essence. And yet the reality of how difficult that it can be. So in the example that I said before and that I'm still going through is, so there is a past, yes, and I acknowledge it's the past, yet it has power over me, right? Which is the memory of an extended family member's verbal abuse, emotional abuse as a child, right? So now as an adult, I realize I'm not being affected by that. Of course, it's a extended family member. They're still in not my day-to-day life yet. In my mind, it can be day-to-day. Or at times you have to face this person, right? Now, there's a mixed movement of the ego wanting that person's love, approval, appreciation, and wanting to harm them for the harm they created or the harm they caused me as a child. Okay, as an adult, there's some sense of I am the one causing me something if I choose to believe it, etc., etc. But to a child, especially if you're a small child, it seems like, okay, they caused me this. And so this mixed movement, right, of knowing that, okay, it needs to be rejected. Any sense of wanting someone to go through harm or having ill will essentially is such a negative thing on myself. Yet the reality of letting it go is tough. And the best way so far I've been able to do it is, okay, mother, I offer it. I see there's this ill will. There's still some resentment in me. I offer it to you. Help me. And there's now another generation. And I can offer that baby my love and my affection. Still in the family, I can't seem to find that love and affection for the one that caused the harm. Yet for this child, it's much easier. And some sense of, well, I'll put it right where I can. in as much as I've heard that even family traumas can be healed into the past. Somehow there's some sense of timing. I've heard that and read it in many ways, that even something that can be healed in the present can affect ancestors and this family as much as that it happens at that level, right? Even it can heal things in the past, right? But yeah, it's not all that to say, it's not always easy to release in truth, if one is really honest with oneself, even the negative emotions that you shouldn't have such an ill will against another,
Absolutely,
yeah.
totally resonate with you. And in that case, because there are things which are so sticky, and theoretical understanding, no matter how deep, may not help there. There, it is most recommended to take help from uh, experts. There are healers, there are therapists who actually work with this, what you were just right now sharing, like family healing. And we can actually, this works really well for those people who have, first of all, a faith that this will work. I think without faith nothing can work. So uh, parallelly, sitting here in the present moment, one can actually heal all the ancestral traumas and the inner child traumas that happened to us, and they have happened to each one of us. None of us is spared from traumas in this life, but it depends upon how sticky these are and how much they are bothering, so that you decide to then take a consultation. But if that is the case, then it's recommended then that to seek professional help in letting go of that pattern which is sticking so tightly. Yeah. And that's why we have like things like past life regression. Now, one may say that all the theory is in front of me, but still something is sticking so badly, I'm not able to let go of. So we go to, a therapist who knows how to use a past life regression, for example, which you may only need once in a while, because not to abuse any tool again. I would not abuse any tool, because it's not that we have to, because see, all this is happening on a relative level, we have to understand. And theoretically we know that there is a screen, and on the screen all the drama is happening. But because we are so identified with the drama leaves such imprints on us that we think that my screen is impure, and I'm not able to get back to the pure screen no matter how hard I try. So pure screen of awareness, I'm not able to get back to, because the drama, I have been too identified with the murder and the rape and all that happening in the story. But it's true for me, it's real for me. So how can you say that it's not happening, it's just a drama, right? Why? Because our identification is so tight. So many a times when we are waking up from this tightness with the storyline, it really helps to seek help of such sort at various stages. And I would say it's very beneficial if there are things which are sticking so tightly, which one is not able to let go of. Each thing has its proper place. So each kind of healing also has its proper place. And then you one can, after going through that process, one realizes, oh, that is why I was again and again doing that, and I was not able to leave it. Now you acknowledge it, you embrace yourself as a child, or whatever happened, you say, okay, that time nobody was there for you, but I am here for you now, and I see you, and I will take care of you. So you acknowledge that traumatized inner child. And just like you were sharing earlier, being more and more intimate friends with ourselves, that yes, people will come and go and come and go, we can't trust people, their priorities change, their soul journeys are different, but I am not going to leave before myself. So I have my own best friend in me. So that inner child that craves attention, that has been traumatized, which at that point of time I was not able to look after, now I look at that child in that traumatized state, and I say to it, I see you, and your fears and everything is totally valid, but now we can move on. I hear you, I see you, now we can move on. Because moving on is necessary. We can't just go rotating in a rotten path again and again. It makes us suffer. Life is not for suffering. Suffering is a path that we ourselves many a times choose. Like Mother shares, there can be a detour or there can be a straight path to the divine. Many a times we are so tightly, bonded in our things that we choose the detour path. What can we do? But we can have a life which is just like Mother says, cheerfulness is the salt of sadhana. Humor, cheerfulness, sense of humor. We don't have to keep suffering. This life is not for suffering. Suffering may be there, but we don't have to, habituate ourselves to suffering. When it is there, make use of it, but not crave for it. Life is not suffering, supposed to be suffering. Life is for progress. So anything that benefits, I think, in the crux of the matter is that anything that benefits me, nurture my being to an expand, takes me to an expanded wide space where I am feeling relatively free, open, wide. I must make use of that technique, tool, therapy, method on my path. Whether it is Buddhist, or I would use everything. I am very selfish about this. That whether people may talk, integral yoga is not in consonance with Buddhism. I really don't care about where you find the difference. I see only similarities. And I see that Buddhism also benefits me, Kabir also benefits me, Mother Shri Aurobindo also benefit me. So I think this is like almost utter selfishness about nurturing my being. Anything that benefits me, I will make use of it since it is there. Really, no apprehensions. Anuradha ji is not able to hear. Okay, maybe. Yeah, her audio is not connected. Yes. Yeah, so any reflections here? In the meantime, I'll just message Anuradha ji. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for all you said. That did address what I was saying, as well as, yes, I agree with you about anything that helps. Or even as somebody, an old mentor figure when I was young in Pondicherry said to me when I was questioning, like, can I go to this teacher and can I go to this other way? And I remember he was so sweet. He just looked at me with such kind eyes and said, however it comes to you, however the yoga comes to you. And it's been very, it's always been so
Beautiful.
helpful
I
to
think,
have
yeah,
that.
that's very
Yeah,
simply, beautifully said. Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
resonate. Yeah.
And then recently also just this kind of stepping back to this, to this identity of self that's just behind, just a sense into her or it, and the qualities of that, and to spend time there, and then it allows to unhook from all this past, as you say, as a how. We were a few minutes ago, we were talking about, like, how does one do this, and it's like, and recently I've been noticing how that's been really worth my attention. It's like constantly remind me it's just so soft or so gentle and very hard to even put words on it, but yet it seems like a real panacea or like a healing balm, to spend time with that energy within myself that doesn't have so many stories. There's a lot of wideness with it, a lot of softness, and it's a very unaccustomed way to perceive myself and show up as myself, yet to constantly remind myself, oh, hey, this identity or this sense perception of just what's behind, just slightly behind. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think we, again, we have to be selfish for the right reasons. And the right reasons are, as we were discussing, that whatever takes me towards peace, clarity, intelligence, fulfillment, true fulfillment, not addiction, but fulfillment. That's the path I'll let unfold in front of me. So one has to be really utterly selfish here. And then when my own cup is full, that's where I can offer it to others. So we can talk about surrender later, but first let me, you know, have a sense of self, which is like, I feel good about it, Thank God for this life that has been given to me. Before that, we can't even talk about surrender. I was just wondering that we really jump to surrender too soon. No, there is no need. We can't skip all these steps. It's like, you want to play the concert on the first day of your trying to play a guitar. How can you do that? No, we won't be able to do that. We have to practice and develop love and nurture, learn many intricacies. Then after many years, we may think of entering a concert. So surrender is like a concert. Since we hear it so often, we want to just jump at the last one. That, okay, let me take the quickest way possible. But that's not happening. It won't happen. So it's pretty interesting how we try to take the shortcut. But there is no shortcut. We can't take the shortcut. It's, as Mother says in prayers and meditations, it's like we need all kinds of innumerable experiences so that slowly, each element of our being gets refined and offered. Yes, Anuradha ji. I don't know if you can hear us or not, but you have your hand raised. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's your audio is not connected. Yeah, what do I do? Connected to audio. Yeah, now it's good. Anuradha ji, can you hear us now? Yeah, anything anyone wants to add on? I think with this also it becomes clear with us that how with integral yoga we have refinement not only of like we have in integral education, mental education, vital education, and the physical education, so that all these instruments are becoming better and better and better and better, and we are nurturing our being. I think that's where we connect this towards a healthy sense of self. Sorry for the disturbance. There's some work going on. So I was thinking that it would be actually not a bad idea to maybe use this little compilation of since we are trying to see how an individuality, how a healthy sense of sense can be formed, and in that rejection is very important. Now that I aspire towards a healthy sense of self, I would have to reject many things which are not in alignment with that inner truth. So here we have many good pointers as to what to reject. Like in the home, we are doing a jhadu or viper or whatever. We reject all the garbage. We know what to reject. So here it's like what to reject. So it would be really nice to maybe also in the coming sessions, not maybe today, we can take up some part today, but it would be nice to see that what is actually garbage, which is spoiling my being, which I take as myself and has to be rejected now. If I really want to nurture, if the aspiration of nurture is there, then rejection will be possible. Then you will be able to reject. So I thought maybe let us go towards this, take up this first page at least, on rejection. Yeah. Would anyone want to read it aloud? These 3, 4 points that are there in front.
I was waiting for someone else, but I could read. What is to be rejected in yoga? But so long as the lower nature is active, the personal effort of the sadhak remains necessary. The personal effort required is a triple labor of aspiration, rejection, and surrender. Rejection of the movements of the lower nature. Rejection of the mind's ideas, opinions, preferences, habits, constructions, so that the true knowledge may find free room in a silent mind. Rejection of the vital nature's desires, demands, cravings, sensations, passions, selfishness, pride, arrogance, lust, greed, jealousy, envy, hostility to the truth, so that the true power and joy may pour from above into a calm, large, strong, and consecrated vital being. Rejection of the physical nature's stupidity, doubt, disbelief, obscurity, obstinacy, pettiness, laziness, unwillingness to change, tamas, so that the true stability of light, power, ananda may establish itself in a body growing always more divine.
Thank you so much. So I think this is so beautiful, really so crisp, so beautiful. And yesterday, I was talking to someone, and there was a question that, yeah, I was sharing that to be sensitive to one's pain and suffering, that when it is there, when any kind of unease is there, you become very sensitive to it, and since you want to now nurture your being, then you decide not to take that road again, since it makes us suffer. And the example that I used there was that, imagine that my hand is in fire. Then of course, if I am suffering, if there is pain in my hand, I would remove my hand from the fire. So that person was asking that, how would I know that there is fire in my day to day life? Because there you are giving this example that, okay, hand is in fire and hand is getting burnt, okay, I'm able to remove it. But in day to day life, how do I recognize what is fire and what is not fire? And I was sharing with him that so blinded we are, such lost we are, that if somebody hits my car, I would immediately get to know, oh, this guy has hit my car, let me straighten him up, or punish or whatever, hisab kitab barabar. But when there is something going on in my being which is making me suffer, I have no clue. So I'm asking others, what is the fire in my being? I mean, this is the amount of blindness that we live in. Why? Because the mind is not home. Because if mind really comes back home in the present moment, it is impossible that you would not be able to see that all these intruders that Sri Aurobindo shares here, this all this vital nature's desires, demands, cravings, sensations, passion, selfishness, pride, arrogance. You, if the mind is truly in the present moment and you see the ripple of all these intruders, it is impossible that I will not be able to see how much poison they cause in my being. It is totally impossible. And why I can miss this fire in my being is that the mind is not home. And that's where Buddhism and this connects, that the mind has to be home if we want to be conscious of what's happening in the being. Because in Buddhism, we are all again and again talking of be mindful, know what is happening in your being, be mindful of your thoughts, be mindful of your feelings. So the mind is being called home so that it can look, what is the drama happening in the home, so that I don't have to ask anyone else, tell me about the fire in my being. Although I can easily recognize the dent on my car, but I have no clue of the fire in my being, that all these are causing fire in my being. That's why, we connect these philosophies, we are able to connect these practices. That if the mind is not home, if the mind is, as Sri Aurobindo himself here says, what does he say in the second point? Rejection of mind's ideas, opinions, preferences, habits, constructions, these rigid dogmas that we have, which make us suffer, so that the true knowledge may find free room in a silent mind. He does not say a cluttery, chattery mind. He also talks of a silent mind. And in Buddhist tools also, that's what we are doing. What are we doing when we are calling the mind back home? We are making it silent. And this is the effort, as Swapna was sharing in the beginning, that this is not easy. It's not easy, believe me, for anyone, even for people who may appear to like have it like effortless. We don't see the effort they put in that sadhana. We really have no clue. It's like you see somebody playing beautifully a guitar or an instrument on the concert stage, and you think, I want to play like that. How does that man or woman does so effortlessly? But when you go to his place, you realize that hours and hours he's practicing. Would you be able to give that amount of practice? Then you can, of course, have it effortlessly. So no one has it effortlessly. I think that we have to know. Even the most effortless people that we see, that, oh, for you it is so effortless, but for them it would be a choice that they are making every moment, that they make a choice to walk that path, because it is a beautiful path. So it's not without effort for anyone. Yeah. Yes, anyone wants to add on?
So, true knowledge may find free room in a silent mind. Just just reading it makes you feel so nice, no? Matlab, it feels like wow.
And usually our mind is very cramped, so there is hardly any free room.
Yeah, yeah. So this feels yours. It feels like so, the resonance is there, and yet you can, like just listening, it makes you feel as say, wow, something connects. But yeah, it's like
I
long,
think
long.
that much also is a very good sensitivity, that, oh, I heard this today and that made me feel expanded.
Mm.
So this is how I get to know, oh, this is the right direction for me. since we were talking of, nurturing the being, anything that expands me, takes me towards my own perfection. So this, the thing that you shared, it may sound very little, but I think it's not very little. It's very important indicator that look, I spent 5 minutes reading that line, and how expanded. I may not be there. Totally get you. You know that I may not have a silent mind right away, but just reading that line brings me to an expansive space. So I will devote time in reading these lines. That's how we, devote our time to
Yeah.
write
And
things.
this rejection also, na, like how like we reject and we go back, we reject, and so rejection of ideas, opinions, preferences, habits, constructions, it's all going on. And yet that is what I mean by the chatter, no? Wo back and forth, and then there is like nice space. Then again there is, so you're rejecting, it's coming back, you're rejecting, it's coming back, you're rejecting. So yeah, so that is why this, aspiration and this space where this free room is so calling. But yeah, that it you have to be at it, like you said. It seems effortless, but the kind of effort, and that's a sadhana, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And this back and forth, Sri Aurobindo talks about it. And I think I had shared it in one of the sessions that he almost, I made my own analogy where imagine that you are like 10 rooms full of kids are with you, and you settle down one room, and then you go to some other room where kids are still noisy, chattery, and lots of chaos is going on. By the time you have settled down the second room, the first room has become noisy again. So you have to go back to the room and that do the settlement again there, engage the kids in a challenging activity, whatever, keeps them busy. And this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth is the process of yoga. Unless we have absolute mastery over all the different parts and pieces of our being, because the parts and pieces will keep revolting. So you will feel, oh, I have overcome that, but I overcome that, but then it'll pop up again. Because this is for us to know that, do I still have any enchantment through that promise that gives me, or am I disenchanted now? I don't want anything through that dictate of lower consciousness. So this is our test, that how ready I am to move forward. And I think it's very, very necessary. And that's why Mother says that even the most best possible sadhaks or people, for even for them, the work is very long and slow. November 28, I think, 1912 is the prayer. Yes, Pratima. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So, in prayers and meditations, November 28, if I'm not wrong, 1912 or maybe 1914, which is translated by Sri Aurobindo, she shares that each and every part of the being has to back and forth until the true refinement, absolute refinement is there. So, all these innumerable experiences will be necessary, and for the best of us, the path is long. She says, not is, she says, the path must be long and slow if the conversion has to be absolute. Because if the conversion is very striking, she says, then it can also reverse. That up ek din you went to a de-addiction center, and the first day you say, oh, I got rid of my addiction. I mean, you say it's not possible. It can't be possible. Because de-addiction is a long journey, and we are all addicted. We are all addicted to our patterns, and that's where rehabilitation is a long process. So it's a very auspicious sign, this, that the long journey has at least begun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So we'll take up more aspects of maybe rejection or aspiration or whatever comes, and basically steering it towards, if anything else comes up, happy to take it. But what I'm seeing today is we can almost take it towards how to continually do this process of cleansing, nurturing, and both cleansing and nurturing at once. It's not neti neti, not only the cleansing, but also positive reinforcement. So it's not just like a nothing state that, oh, all the kachra is out or the garbage is out and there is nothing there. No. When the garbage is out, in that emptiness is full of good qualities, like intelligence, intuitive mind, alertness, kindness, compassion, wisdom. All this gives rise to now that free space that we have created in the being, which was earlier filled up with garbage. So it's not just like rejection, it's also nurturing of these qualities, which comes as an effect. So we can slowly maybe take it towards that also, or if there are any other suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, Monica, I was just noticing, like, if as we go along, if there's another dimension of like stepping into that part of ourselves, like a lived experience that can reject. What I mean is, like, in the last few moments, I was noticing, like, these words are so profound from Sri Aurobindo, right? It's like, oh my goodness, such huge work. And so then I noticed, okay, this part of me that comes in is very much on the vital, right? That says kind of like, oh, such big work. That's like, God, almost like I'll never get there. As I read that list, it's amazing. It's absolutely true. And there's this habituated part, right? That I was saying at the beginning of a lot more attention has gone to putting time there. It's the vitals, bright lights, Bollywood type of sound effects. And so to habituate myself to be in that aspect of me that can approach these words with the possibility of them coming to fruition, right? An aspect of myself that I was touched into earlier, of like just stepping back. There's some wideness in my being and some quietness of mind. And now I can approach these words. So yes, as we go, just that, because otherwise it seems to me I can come at it with my mind or my vital, and then it becomes just like an habituated way to try and do the yoga, which often doesn't work or often presents obstacles, as opposed to somehow, if there's a way to embody it, as we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think the very problem with us is that we can't stay in the moment. Like we were reading this list and you shared that the mind just directly goes to, oh, I'm not going to get there. So the mind immediately slips from the present moment. It just can't, it's like, that's why we call it monkey mind. It can't be still. And that's why we have to train it to be still. We have to train to be silent. We have to train to be less chattery. That's where the training is required. If otherwise the mind was perfectly okay to be still, I mean, there was no need for these sessions or all the scriptures being written again and again, really. But the problem is that we have been given at hand is we have this mind which just slips as if there is a slippery slope in the present moment, and it can't stay in the present. Because if we are in the present, just look at it, the list that you were sharing, which may be very complicated to look at or difficult to achieve. But if in this particular moment, I can be just taking care of this moment, conscious of what's going on in my being right now, and what am I nurturing? Am I nurturing anger, or am I looking at anger in a step back state? Am I nurturing jealousy or an old pattern, or am I just looking at the old pattern and not following the dictate? So I think if we just, and this we have to, here is where the effort is required, because immediately the mind goes to, oh, this I'm never going to achieve, so forget about that. And so give me something practical, and this is something practical. This nobody can take away from you, whether you read Mother or Sri Aurobindo or not. bringing the mind to the present moment and being very, very conscious and sensitive of what's happening in right now in my being. Is it benefiting me? Is it not benefiting me? Choosing only the path that benefits me, always, stubbornly. And that only has to be done moment by moment. So the task is very, very simple, but mind loves complicated affairs. The ego mind, I'm talking of the sense mind, the logical, analytical mind. That's why we have, we give so much respect to MBAs and HR, and we have no really respect for people who are simple. They may not have much money, they may not have much degree, but they are very, very simple and they are just very open hearted. We only respect degrees because the ego mind loves complications. And I was, attending to a old couple here in Gurgaon, and it was so like I've really been wondering for the past 2 days. I mean, they have children who may have good degrees, maybe intelligent mind, I don't know, settle somewhere out there, I don't know where. But when these people are in the greatest possible need of somebody loving, present in their house, in this phase of their life, when they are really aging, there is no one there. I would not like to be such a person who has all the philosophy, but my heart is not available, my heart is not open. I am better without any philosophy, but my heart should remain open. So, what am I choosing? What am I choosing? Each moment, if I can just be conscious of what am I choosing, open heart, closed heart, I think really we don't have to bother about the ocean that lies in front of us. If each drop can be taken care of, the ocean will take care of itself. And if I skip the drop, then come back to purity again. Dust off your pants, be shameless, coming back to purity again. Coming back to, okay, if for a moment I closed my heart, acted from a closed heart, no matter, forgiving myself is also opening my heart. So, okay, I forgive myself, I forgive everything, and I set back again. I'm back again on the track with an open heart. So, I was really wondering at this situation that I don't know what we are doing, earning so much of money, having maybe big houses, many, many good cars, while we can't be available for people who we claim to be our family or friends or whoever, that people we take care of. Where are we lost? Where are we lost? Where are our hearts, so closed? Why are our hearts so closed? What am I going to do with all that money that I am earning? While, and if these people die, these old parents or, whoever, now they need support. I'm sure at least for a couple of days, people will come running to do all the antim sanskar and everything. But why can't they be there, when they need them right now? How can a job become so important that a human life is not important? Not only human life, any life. So I really doubt what kind of a world we have created. And that's why the need of opening our heart, each one of us, as Mother says, has to become pure gold. And pure gold is open heart, intuitive mind, free mind, a mind which is not always begging for itself, a mind which is ready to offer itself. So it's, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a really a sad state of affairs when we look at this, that where are we lost? What are we going to do with all that money and property and wealth and, I don't know, status, respect, fame, when I can't be there for people who I claim as my parents or siblings or friends or, I don't know, even strangers. And that's why it's important to wake up to our true personality, because that's what opens us. Ego constricts us. Ego is always about my job, my need, my timeline. But when there is a psychic individuality, it's like so fulfilled in itself that it says, okay, how can I benefit you? I don't need anything from you, but let me know how can I, offer my help. So we need more of that sorts, I believe. Enough of beggars we are. Yes. Any last comments, anyone? Okay, so I think I really appreciate all of us coming forward and exploring, what is this trap of ego consciousness in which we are most of the time sucked. Because this is, I feel, is for me, this is nothing is more prior than addressing this. Really, I feel that even a few of us, if they are ready to walk this path of letting go of the begging state and becoming pure gold, this would be really good for the world, good for our own self also. Begging is not a, good for us also. So yeah, thank you for being here, thank you for giving it time. I know everybody has their own schedules, but if we give it time, it must be relevant to us. So more power to each one of us, and may each one of us have our hearts at peace and still, silent, spacious, vast minds, and with lots of simplicity, joy, and progress in life. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you,
bless you.
Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.